Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Councillor Stephen Holliday. I'm the chair of the Service Excellence Committee. The clerk has advised me that we have quorum, so I would like to now call our meeting to order. Welcome. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at City Hall, Committee Room Number 1. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order that they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Service Excellence Committee page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the City Clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the Clerk's meeting portal. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at svexc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic. Seeing none, we will proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on June 23rd, 2025? Moved by Councillor Ainsley. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And now we will begin the review of the agenda. Members, there are two items. The first item is SE 9.1, 311, Toronto, update on progress related to centralizing Tier 1 services. I will hold that item for a presentation. The second item is SE 9.2, efforts to improve end-to-end customer experience. And I will hold that item for speakers. Those are the two items of the agenda. We will now go back up to the top of the agenda and to item number 1, which is SE 9.1, 311 Toronto, update on progress related to centralizing Tier 1 services. And I will invite members of the Toronto Public Service to the podium for a presentation.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. While they're setting up, can I just ask on a point of order? There's a red tape survey or process that's underway right now with the public. Do you know if the results of that ultimately come to this committee or where they go?
I do not know. I don't know if anyone in the room has an answer to that. Councillor Ainsley will look into it.
Maybe if you could endeavor to find out.
Certainly.
Thank you.
I believe this is just 311 at this committee. Is that correct, Chair? No other
I
scope.
believe our mandate is fairly wide, but I just don't know the origin of the red tape survey.
Oh, I thought we had a very narrow mandate.
I'm sorry, Councillor Fletcher.
I thought we had a very narrow mandate.
It's service excellence, and I think a lot of it contains 311, but some of the reports are beyond 311.
Could we just be clear what the mandate is then?
Yeah, there's a letter. We'll have to get that out.
Let's hear it. City Manager's Office, our mandate, please.
We can get that. Are we set to begin? Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Seraphim. I'm the new executive director for the Customer Experience Division. With me today, I have Sonia Brar, Chief Technology Officer, and Rupi China, Director of Customer Experience Division. As requested in the last committee, today I'll be presenting the background and history of 311, the current day experience, and what we're doing to address the areas of opportunities to improve the overall customer experience in the city. Next slide. So 311 was launched in 2009 after a council mandate from 2004. By 2010, 311 was integrated with 5 service divisions, who will remain our divisional partners today. Post-launch, we have introduced new channels like our website, our mobile app. We created some feedback mechanisms like surveys on complaints, compliments, and we partner with other divisions such as RSD and Revenue Services, Clerk's Office for elections as well. We're currently launching the park September 22nd, and we'll begin community rec shortly thereafter.
Oh, yep.
When we take a look at the data within CXD, we see some other opportunities to enhance our customer experience today. So if we are really rich in data, we have 1 million contacts coming through year to date, mostly on the phone channel. So customers are overwhelmingly relying on our phone channel to access our service and mobile app adoption, which is only 2% at this time. This could be because customers are used to calling 311, or app needs improvement, which we know, and we look at our satisfaction scores for intake. So we see our phone channel measures much better than our self-service channels. So lots of opportunities there. We also measure customer satisfaction throughout the customer journey. Firstly, at intake. So at 311, we're currently at 75% year to date, and we also have our division's fulfillment satisfaction score, which is at 64%, mainly due to the winter operations. If we move to the next slide, please. Current systems. So where are we in the ecosystem today? So we have 2 systems used to manage a service request through our life cycle. The first system is the 311 system, which is called the Customer Relation Management. The name says it all, it's for the customer, and customer experience owns it with technology. We launched it in November 2021. The other system used today by the divisional systems is the work order management system.
Pardon me, Ms. Serafim, if I could just ask you to pause. There's been a request from the member just to get copies distributed.
Okay.
So if you can give the clerk just a moment, we'll resume. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if we can always have deck copies for us here, please. I thought that was our standard. That's our standards.
Folks, we're just having a bit of technical difficulty with the printer. If you just give us another moment, we'll resume. Thank you.
That the standard that we've set at committee is that we do get that, so I would ask that that be the future.
Thank
And
you.
if there's another presentation that we get. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Chair, would you like me to go back?
Yes?
I think you have your answer.
Let's go back to the background. Okay, so we'll start with the 311 background. So 311 was launched in 2009 after a council mandate from 2004. By 2010, we had about 5 service divisions who remain our divisional partners today. Post-launch in 2021, we introduced our 311 website and our 311 mobile app. We then followed to provide services like surveys and complaints and compliments. We partner with divisions like RSD for revenue service, tax, clerk's office for elections, and court services, and many more. As of September 22nd, we're also ready to launch parks. And next year, we'll be looking at community recreation as well. From a 311 data perspective, we sit on a lot of good data. We had 1 million contacts so far this year, mostly over the phone. So we're seeing that customers are overwhelmingly relying on our phone channel to access our service. Our mobile app adoption is at 2%. Self-serve omni-channels are still at 11% in total. So if we look at our satisfaction score, we see that the phones are measuring better than online, so lots of opportunities for us to improve our self-serve channels, including our app. We also measure customer satisfaction at all service journeys. So at intake at 311, we can see how the customer felt. At fulfillment, we can see how the divisions are doing. Today, 311 year to date is at 75%, and the divisions overall are 64%. This is how our current ecosystem looks today in terms of systems. The first system on the left, the blue, is the 311 system, is the customer relation management. We call it the CRM tool. As the name says, it's for the customer. We, in customer experience, own that with technology. The second system on the green, on the right side, is the divisional systems, the work order management systems, which are owned by the divisions and technology. And they use that systems to create their tasks. From an implementation perspective, the CRM tool within customer experience was launched in November 2021, and the divisional system is getting rolled out with the enterprise work order management system, and Sonia will cover it in the next few slides. Systems integration. So how does the process look for 311 when the customer comes in? And we can start at the blue dot. So system integration has automated information sharing between the customer experience, the divisions, and when a customer submits a service request, it's automatically routed to the division, and the 311 CRM works with their work order management system. Today, customers are provided status updates, but we hear many areas of opportunities within that. We are seeing that we need to improve our communication, we need to give clear, simple, and relevant updates to level set expectations from our residents. With that, we need to clarify what does completed mean. In order for 60 to provide customers more meaningful updates, we need to keep working with our divisions to get better updates and continue to work with technology to get those mandatory drop-down fields, which Sonia will talk about it, to ensure divisional notes are clear, accurate, and informative. And that will address our closing the loop. So how will we address this? So this slide outlines our strategic approach to closing the loop by enhancing the way we respond to and communicate with residents about their service requests. Citizens' expectations are evolving, as we know, dramatically, and citizens expect from government services what they receive from Amazon, from their bank. So what do we do to achieve that? So the first one, we need to be customer-centric, and we're working on that. We need to simplify the process for residents to submit service requests. Less questions, less is more in this case. We need to reduce the number of service codes for less rerouting errors, faster service, and better data analytics, which provides the good insights that we need. We need to improve the standardization of information around cancellations, reassignments, so that we don't have work orders being reassigned incorrectly. We need to improve the integration and better internal communication by the mandatory field so that we get the canceled notes on a drop-down, and the quality of the notes are good to provide to our residents. Lastly, as we know, we need accurate and timely customer communication and going towards that Amazon look with photo sharing of the service completed. For example, here is your pothole fixed. From a jurisdictional scan, so we in the last few months, we have interacting with a lot of our counter cities across Canada, the US for benchmarking and looking at what best-in-class customer experience practices are out there. So government and municipalities are really aligning with the contact center methodologies to the private sector. So if we look at cities, they have a high adoption of the mobile app. They're looking at cheaper and more efficient phone lines. Many are using AI IVR, which means interactive voice response. So instead of pressing 1 for this, press 2 for that, an agent bot will talk to you and will let you know. You can simply say, I have a pothole in front of my house, and they will create the service request. They're also focusing on cities to design targeted operating models with the client in mind. A lot of cities we're seeing that are putting SWAT teams to fast-track improvements to their processes. So pulling in people from different divisions in the customer experience to go faster on the design of the codes. From a technology perspective, we're seeing, and this is a best practice from contact centers, cities are upgrading front-to-back systems, so they're using the same back system to their front systems, which means their websites and their apps, and leveraging data to be proactive over reactive servicing, followed by strong governance collaboration. So if we move to the next slides, and this is a pretty self-explanatory slide, we have collaboration and shared accountability across service divisions, which we're working on with technology in our divisions. At the heart of our approach is the customer. Every improvement we make, whether it's operational or service or technology, the front-end experience should be thinking about the customer, and we are all here on a client advocacy, which is a shared responsibility from these 3 units. So you can see from a customer experience, we need to provide better reporting for the divisions, trend analysis, insights, quality assurance. The service divisions need to design a customer-centric model with us, and technology enables everything we do. So it's all in collaboration. So what's next for us in the next few quarters? From a governance perspective, we're kicking off the Closing the Loop Steering Committee with all our service divisions. Our key priority is to drive that governance and accountability. So we're also talking about data and the use of data. So we're also launching our public dashboards, which will launch in November this year, including customer satisfaction scores by division. We're developing new quality assurance metrics for our own customer experience division and for our divisions. And we're planning on putting a package together monthly for our divisions on data and areas of opportunities. Closing the loop, we're starting with our friends in transportation, is our first partner in closing the loop. With them, we're identifying improvement opportunities that can be scaled across other service requests and divisions. We're starting with service codes for graffiti, potholes, and sidewalk repairs. We started a working session this week to review all their processes. In Q2 2026, we're rolling out with technology the mandatory status drop-downs and photo sharing. So we're very excited about this piece of work. More divisions will follow as they onboard to the new enterprise work order management system. We need a new app. So we're modernizing our mobile experience. We're preparing a budget request to upgrade the online service request portal and the 311 app. We're also very happy to be piloting the first AI in the contact center. We'll be piloting AI tools internally to help our agents find accurate information faster for customers. Today, they have to browse through 600 service requests. This will allow us to clean and label our knowledge base before expanding to eventually to the public. So AI, this is just the beginning of AI and how we can leverage it going forward. And lastly, we're looking into, as mentioned before, launching new services. So parks is next, and community recreation, we have it starting Q1 2026. I'll now pass to Sonia to talk about the technology roadmap.
Thanks, Daniele. As Daniele mentioned a couple of slides ago, there's the front-end experience, which is equipping CXD with the right tools and the public with the right tools in terms of submitting requests, getting updates, getting a very friendly, streamlined experience. That is also, though, hinged on the back end, which my team has been working with each of the divisions and making sure the divisional operational groups have the right systems to be able to manage their assets and the work orders associated to it. So since 2022, we have launched EWMS to a number of divisions, solid waste, transportation services, and forestry. We are looking to, and since 2022, we really have ramped the efforts to roll out the system to as many divisions as possible, again, to get to a consistent order management system so that their operational teams have the information when they need it. They're connected to 311, so they're getting the service requests immediately, and they're able to respond back to 311 in a very effective manner. We are looking to ramp the rollout we started in 2025 and moving into 2026. So we are ramping a few more services related to transportation as well as parks later this year. And then next year, we are looking to launch recreational services. And later in the year, we're working with Toronto Water to get their services onboarded to EWMS as well. So what does this really mean? So the way the system is configured today, there are mandatory drop-downs in terms of accepting service requests. There is photo sharing, but it's limited. It happens with 311 agents. And then the notes where actually the crux of what's happening with the service request is really recorded are optional. So as Daniele mentioned, in Q2 of 2026, we're looking to make the notes and drop-downs mandatory to close a work order so that that information mandatorily goes back to the 311 agent as well as to the public, as well as be able to share photos directly to the public. There is quite a bit of work that needs to happen. So this functionality exists within the system. We just had not turned it on to date because the work that's required is standardizing how we want to treat work orders and service requests across the city. And as well, just making sure the information that is being collected and shared with the public is very public friendly. So as Daniele mentioned, the work that's happening right now with transportation and forestry will be ready to launch in Q2. And then we'll work with each of the divisions to make sure that standardization happens and we can quickly launch the mandatory information back to the public shortly after. And I think I will leave it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff? Councillor Fletcher and then Councillor Ainsley.
Just the first one, so things are rolling up, and that's great. If we were to compare with other large cities, are there other divisions that are on 311 there that aren't on our 311? So right now, we've added parks. We're going to add community rec, which I know is on other systems. Is there other things that they have that we don't have? We'd had a menu. What else would be on theirs? Or are we now complete after we do community recreation?
To the chair, we have seen through our partners in the US in particular, they have most of the divisions integrated into their 311, where today here in Toronto, we have 6 with parks.
Sorry, if I was to ask, Mr. Chair, to say, here's 311's been here since David Miller said we need 311 in 2004, so that's since it was implemented, 2009. Then what's missing is even as far as larger divisions are concerned. Let's compare ourselves to Calgary, who's got a really active, strong 311 system in Canada, in the US. We don't have buildings on there. You can't call in about illegal building. I don't see that. Are we missing that? What's missing still?
So we have other divisions that we could integrate into 311, if I'm understanding the question correctly. However, I think to start, and that's part of our number one report, is we need to fix some of the foundational work, and there is a component with the divisions of readiness that needs to be completed before they integrate with us.
Yeah, my question actually is so we can see, here's what you can do on 311 in Toronto, here's what you do on 311 in Calgary, here's what you do in 311 in Peel, here's what's on 311 in New York. So we kind of see where we're at and where we still can go. So I don't know if we have that, or if you've had that previously anywhere, Mr. Chair, but I think that's helpful for us to understand how long the road is, or other things that we might want to prioritize, and what your priorities would be in bringing things on quickly. So if I see something being built illegally or something that's dangerous, I don't know if that's a 311 call or not.
I can take that away, Counselor, and come back with all that information.
Thank you. So it isn't. I know in New York, if you see something dangerous, then you phone 311. There's big signs everywhere. And then I'm just a little nervous about when we're trying to move people off the phone. Do we know why they prefer the phone? That's a very high number. And I know we all love to make people go on an app, but I think there's something about when you have an issue, feel like you're talking to somebody, a real person. That might be a factor. Have you looked at that at all as to why, even though there's many other ways to do it, people still are calling?
I think in the case of our city, people are just comfortable. It could be from current app status. Is it complicated to use the app? It could be the marketing around the app as well, where everywhere we go, we see our trucks saying call 311. So it could be an awareness situation. Today, we only have 10,000 app downloads for 311. So it could be a combination of things, but what we can say where the industry is going is that there's a lot of nimbleness starting in digital and even moving to a live agent, depending on the case. So you can start on a live chat, similar to how you do it on travel agencies, and then by the end of it, you can be in a phone call with an agent. So the industry is going towards self-serve. I think in the case of Toronto is a combination of the items I mentioned.
But have we ever asked why those people are calling rather than, because we have a lot of people? Is that a million contacts?
A million contacts year
Well,
to date.
that's 750,000 people that are calling in, right? That's a lot. And we don't know if they would like to do it a different way or if that's important to them.
From my single experience so far, from people I've been talking to, a lot of people don't have the awareness of our app.
There's also a lot of people that don't have, I know in housing where we went to, everybody has to go online. A lot of people don't go online, can't go online. They want something different. So I want to make sure that we're not writing off people that want live contact in favor of what's easy for us. So easy for us is an app. Easy for us is not having a lot of people having to talk to people. But what's easy for the public, what do they like? And we've not measured that yet, or asked them, correct?
We have not, and we can do that. From an omni-channel, the phone channel will always be available. We have our seniors that like calling us. I think the key here is to give optionality and omni-channels for customers to contact us the way they would like to.
Councillor Fletcher,
Yeah,
we certainly can go to another round.
can't hear you.
We can certainly go to another round if you.
Yes, I do. I've got a couple more questions. Thank you,
Councillor
Chair.
Ainsley?
You're very good.
Well, you go ahead, and we'll come back.
All right, I'm Daniele. So in 2009, there was 251 phone lines. Is that the same today? Do we have more phone lines, or are we?
There is less, Counselor. I think it's over 100, but I can come back to you and confirm the exact number.
Okay, and the reason I asked that was, so on the chart where it says that 77% of the people are contacting us by phone, and I seem to recall a slide deck presentation by your predecessor a few years ago about how much more expensive it was for the city to have somebody contact by phone than the app, or email. And there doesn't seem to be a way to proactively get people to use something other than the phone. So going to the Omni or the chat mechanism, will that cut down on the length of time people are phoning, or you think it'll reduce the number of calls, or where do you see that going?
With our implementation of AI, Counselor? Yeah, so I think the handle time by our agents will decrease because they'll find information faster. But it's a balancing act with our agents, because we also don't want to promote getting off the phones fast, because that's also not a good customer experience. So it's a balance, but it should decrease the average handle time.
Okay, and then the 311 and the division system, one of the problems my staff have had is they have a SRO number from 311, and then when they go to follow up with it, with whatever department, sometimes they're using a different number, and there's a lot of confusion back and forth. So this will eliminate that?
Chair, we are working to eliminate that, so there's one consistent number, and it always tracks back to the SR number that the public user would have.
Okay, so that's the ultimate goal, is to make it seamless.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, and then the other one I wanted to ask about, Daniele, was the mandatory photo sharing. So is that from the staff end when they're going in to look at something? If there's a photo attached to the file, unless they view that photo, they can't go anywhere forward in processing that issue? Or when you say mandatory photo sharing, what does that mean?
Oh, sorry, I meant mandatory fields. So what we're doing in Q2 2026 is, instead of leaving a free format for agents from both sides, from the divisions, to write us the problem was fixed or pothole completed, we are now going to put a drop down so they select it. So there's only 3 options so that they don't make any mistakes in giving us that information back. And that's best practices with contact centers.
Okay, because one of the issues I experience now with the app and staff is that I'll take a photo of a pothole, get sent in through the app, and then I have staff emailing me saying they don't have the photo or they can't find the pothole. How does that get alleviated?
So the photo is shared through our work order management system. The issue that we're trying to resolve is, once that pothole is addressed, staff will take a photo, but it only goes to the 311 agent. So we want to be able to share that directly back to the end user.
Okay, but how does the issue get dealt with? Is it better staff training when I send a photo in through the app, that they're not looking at the photo, or they say they can't?
We can take that away, because I think there's a confusion. We're talking about the going back to the customer, and you're talking about the sending it to us. So we can take that away to make sure that there's no problem there.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are my questions.
Thanks, Councillor Ainsley. I had a couple. My first question was, the title of the report is Centralizing Tier 1, but could you tell me what Tier 1 means?
Yes, so Tier 1 was identified back in 2009-ish as high volume, generic questions that we can give to the divisions. So it wasn't anything specialized like housing or child services. It was Tier 1 from an intake perspective. So we would have agents that are more like a generalist.
So things have evolved, and we have information online, and if I remember, the majority of your calls are people calling to ask for information. And, you know, and there's service in providing that, but beyond the call center, nothing happens. You know, that's the majority of your work. So that in itself is a category of business that you do. But then beyond that, you take requests that cause you then to interact with divisions. You know, something needs to be fixed and you send that along. So does that have a name for it, or is there a way to describe that type of activity? Because there's 2 different parts here to what we're talking about.
Yeah, so 60% of the calls we get are general inquiries,
Yep.
like you're mentioning. The other ones, the service we provide for our divisions is taking in service requests.
Okay, and so with respect to service requests, part of the conversation I think I'm seeing here on the floor is that we do 6 divisions worth of activities, and there's other things that happen at the city that aren't captured in that. So could you give me some examples of how the call center handles a request that doesn't fall into one of those categories? What does the customer experience feel like? Do you say, I'm sorry, we don't do that, call this number, or is the process a little different?
Normally, we would support, so we will still take the call because it's a general inquiry, and we would, our knowledge base is large. We would send them to the right information desk within the city.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. I encounter an individual that is homeless on the streets, and I'd like to report that to the authorities so that somebody can go and check in on them. And if I recall that process, the call taker at 311 bridges me to another service within the city. And I think what I'm getting at is how many cases are there that are like that your call center staff can't write up a work order, they've got to do something different. And so where does the roadmap take us farther into the future, knowing that you can't just flip a switch and change that? Where does this head in time?
So I think that's a great question, Chair. We can start reviewing the data that is coming in and analyze future divisions from the opportunities that we're hearing from the phone and the calls that we're getting. So for future integrations, we can look at that.
Right. A different question completely. Councillor Fletcher raised an excellent point. We are trapped in a pattern that people continue to go through the call center, which takes a really long time for them, but is also the most expensive way for the city to handle a request. Is there a way, because I know you do a lot of work to follow up with customers on their experience with the call center, to drill into that question? Or do you have to go to a focus group? I don't know. Is there something you can do to begin to crack open that conversation to find the insights? Because we want to move people to something that serves them better and also makes us more efficient.
We can take that away, Counselor, and review how we can do that within our surveys.
Okay. Second round of questions. Councillor Fletcher?
Yes, thank you for following up on that, Chair, because I think understanding of those 777,000 people, which ones would do something different, why are they using the phone? And when we're saying we're listening to customers, that's number one, listening. What are they doing? Why are they doing that? What would make them do something different? Do they trust the city if they're just on an app? Do they trust the city if they're speaking to somebody? It really has to do with being customer-centric. So I'd really like to know. I'd like to know, maybe you told us, but I missed it, what the 12% other is made up of, because it's actually the largest percentage outside of the phone. That's on page 3.
So that is mainly, the 9% is on the web. So
Pardon me?
the website.
Oh, that's, yes.
Yeah, so the website is the 9%.
Yeah.
The mobile app is the 2%.
Yes, and then you've got other in brown.
Oh, sorry, that is the counter, including downstairs. We have a 311 agent on the counter when you
so
walk
that's
into
in
the
person then?
In person.
Is
that's
that
correct.
really in person? Or
Yes.
is it other? So
Or email as well. Counter or email.
one's in person, one's electronic. I think that's helpful to understand how many people are coming in, but why would they be coming to, when they come to the counter for 311, does that person then input that as a 311 request? If it is any of those divisions, and if it's not one of the divisions on 311, what happens to that resident? They take it and do something different with it.
So if I understood the
What I mean?
question correct, we take, at the counter, we take service requests if needed. So some people still like to come in person.
No. I don't think, I'm going one step further. Coming in person, and you're going to ask about housing. It's not on the 311 app. Is that captured on the other through your 311 agent? How do we know what people are coming in for? That's a large number. The other's actually quite big.
We're not tracking that as specifically, but we will help serve them downstairs.
So nobody's
redirect them.
tracking anything other than 311 when they're at that counter. So is that other only 311, or is that other everybody who's come in to speak to a 311? There's agent, that's 70,000 people.
I don't know, Counselor. I will take that back for you.
So I think there are some follow-ups here to be really clear on just data, because you know how much we love data here. And then if I was to say of that 40% of service requests that aren't information requests, that you've told us 60% are information, when is my blue bin, what's happened, all that. If it's a 40%, could you tell us by division what the top 3 issues are from each division? And then who's getting the most, who has the most service requests of those that are currently on 311?
So MLS has the most requests coming into 311. MLS top 3 service requests are property standards and maintenance violations, injured wildlife, and pickup of dead wildlife. Counselor, would you like to see all of them?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
That'd be great, thank you, just to understand.
Okay, so for transportation services, we have road pothole, road damage, missing damaged street or traffic signs, and traffic signal repair. For waste management, we have residential bin lid damage, residential bin body or handle damage, residential oversized electronics item day collection not picked up. For Toronto Water, we have sewer service line blocked, request water service turn off, request water service on. And for forestry, we have general pruning, tree emergency cleanup, and residential or park tree removal.
Thank you, and that's in descending order. Like most are MLS, then the next one you have are solid waste, and then you have transportation, and okay, thank you. And then one other is just on the satisfaction, which is number 3, because of course, on this side of the table, we're all about the customer experience, because that's who we represent. That 82% intake satisfaction, that what, how did you determine that, and why were the 18% not satisfied?
So that is based on the series of questions that are asked on the survey to the customer after they do the intake with 311.
And what was the reason that they weren't satisfied?
It could be many things. Maybe they didn't have a great interaction with the agent. It could be many things, but this is at intake, not at
That's at
fulfill.
intake, so it's not whether or not, okay, they could have waited a long time on the phone, all those kinds of things.
Correct.
And then division and fulfillment satisfaction, is this on the side of the customer? They've done the survey and say that they're satisfied or not satisfied with what happened.
That's correct. So it could be that they're not satisfied with the solution that they got, or they got a close work order and the problem wasn't fixed. It could be many things.
So if you were to look at what that 30% had to say, the top 3 would be, any idea you have that? And is that an industry standard? Is that what other 311s have? Let's say if you looked at those same cities again for what they have in their drop-down menus, is that pretty standard to have a 70% satisfaction rate, or is that low? Is it high?
Okay. Counselor, I haven't looked in detail yet at this, but I can take that away as one of our next steps.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. I'll speak.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Councillor Crisanti, go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your presentation, Danielle. And I just want to go back to just a point about status updates, and when you spoke particularly in the area of providing photos as a follow-up when an issue or a file is closed. Right? You use the example of potholes, of course, that's the big one across the city. But how does that work when it comes to, for example, or the intent to do it in every division, property standards, forestry, water? So if there's a property standard issue, we know that that particular property standard problem could take a while before it gets resolved. So let's say people are not maintaining their property, the grass isn't getting cut. Do you at some point then also request, and who takes that photo and who submits the photo to your division? And then is the same agent then going to follow up with the constituent to say that this file now is closed? Here's a photo indicating that it's been successfully looked after.
So the process, Councillor Crisanti, is that customer sends the request to us with the photo of the problem. We at 311 would send it to the division, in this case MLS, and then they would take it, fix, complete, and send the note back to 311 to give it back to the customer. I don't know if I answered your question.
But does that follow-up get to the customer? Whatever that follow-up is, whether it's verbal or a new photo that's been taken after it's been resolved, and that photo is then sent to the customer. It sounds like it's adding another layer, if of service there, if we're going to be taking photographs for every situation that have been resolved.
So that's what we have planned for 2026, and we're starting with transportation. And they will be sending photos to customers with completed potholes, for example.
Okay, so you plan to implement in the new year?
Correct. Similar to how you get it on Amazon. You have your package delivered at your door.
All right, Danielle. Thank you, Chair. That's all I had.
Thank you. I'll just do a final check. Any last questions? Members wishing to speak? Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, and thank you for the report. I really appreciate your focus on the customer experience, because that's really what this was set up for. I don't know, I think Paul may have been here, Councillor Ainsley, you might have been here when it was David Miller became mayor and decided that we needed a 311 system, and he charged Councillor Milchin, who worked for quite a few years. But this was very much driven with councillors, Mr. Chair. It was chaired by a councillor. So this committee that we have now is kind of an extension of what was existing back in order to create this system. And I think it's important that we're looking at making sure that we're getting as much as we can out of what was a great system when it was set up. I'm not sure it's had the attention that is needed for a while. I'm glad we're back giving it this kind of attention. And Mr. Chair, I understand you'll ask a few things when you're speaking, but I'm interested in, of course, when you have 30% of people who are unhappy, what was it that they didn't like? And those top three categories, did they relate to the top three categories in each of these divisions? I also think it's important to really nest where we are and where we're going to go and how difficult that would be, because when we're looking at what's possible in the 311 system, we're missing a lot of things that are captured in other cities. So how do we catch up? What's our catch-up plan for that? And I also just want to be really clear that when we put in access to housing, it was just put in that everybody would go online. And there's a lot of people that can't go online, don't go online, can't track their housing requests. And that has become a very big issue, that it's a serious issue for the city. So while we're able to use digital and many people are. There's all kinds of people that aren't able to do that, and I don't want them to feel that they don't have access to important city services and that they're being left out. I like the notion that this is a front door for customers. And what our job here is, once you're in the front door, what does the house look like? Where you're sitting, how easy it is, what's accessible, and then when you leave, did you enjoy your visit? So it's not just, it's the front door plus that I think I'm very interested in your approach, and I do really appreciate your approach. And then always taking what I guess the top three, which might be easiest, got a pothole, got a this, got a that, and tracking that satisfaction, quickly done, all those kinds of things. And then what some of the more complicated pieces are that come in. So when we had like a large sewer main break or something that's an emergency, I'm not sure you have things cascading between, it's an information request, when is something happening, there's an action request, a service request, the tree needs pruning, or there's an emergency request, unsafe, something happening. I don't know what that looks like yet from a 311 perspective and how anybody jumps on that immediately and it's fast. So it's kind of when it's a 911 type call to 311, what's the protocol there? So Chair, I understand you're going to ask for a few things, but I don't want to make every motion about this, but I see that you're taking notes, and I think that from our perspective, representing the public, I want to be clear what our expectations would be and what we'd like to know our system and our spending is leading to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Other speakers? Councillor Ainsley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Danielle, I think welcome to your first Service Excellence Committee meeting and your team. Thank you for the presentation today. Mr. Chair, I know that over the years, so 311's been in existence since 2009. 28 years later after amalgamation, and I get frustrated when somebody talks about, well, there's silos in City Hall. And, I'm like, there's no silos in City Hall. And then when you wade into 311 and you have instances of my staff trying to figure out a service request order number and calling a department and they're working on another order system, or I go into the 311 app, which I'm usually a big fan of. And once in a while, though, I hit a roadblock. I'm trying to figure out how to file something. And it's like, well, maybe it's just easier to email 311 than use the app, which shouldn't be the case. So I'm glad to see the roadmap here in front of us and how those things like that are going to get fixed. Not having parks in the 311 process and going into a rec center and seeing an issue or hearing about an issue from a resident, and I have to call or email staff. Very frustrating for me because I know residents are going into a park center or a playground and they don't have the same capacity I do to call or email a staff member. So I'm glad that that's getting worked at as well. I'm happy to see it's evolving and we're continuing to use technology to make things easier for people. And I just want to thank you for the presentation today and look forward to the future updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Seeing none, I will speak briefly. Councillor Fletcher asked an important question at the beginning of the committee. It was a little off microphone and it wasn't central to the discussion, but it was about the mandate of the committee. And I guess there's a lot of people with different thoughts, but I will put one important one out there. In addition to learning about and talking about the experiences of our customers, the citizens of the city, part of the story here is what 311 and their work can tell us about ourselves. There's lots of gold in them hills to be mined, and we're beginning to scratch the surface on this. So this report in front of us tells the story of some of the work that we already do and what we're starting to change on, which is parks. But it doesn't give the full picture. And I mean that in a positive way. I think there's a craving for the full picture. So a few things were mentioned today, and there was some agreement from staff of the public service that there would be some more work done. So Councillor Fletcher and I talked about doing a motion, and we thought that there would be agreement on some undertakings away from today that would be integrated into more work at this committee. There's a few of them. One of them is a roadmap. I think that's just one word to simplify it, but I know personally, and I suspect part of the dialogue today was about how there's lots of ways that people approach and connect to the city, and we're only talking about one segment of that. And that might be for very good reason. The report talks about it, right? Some of the services that people have are more complicated, right? Because they're about, say, case management. And so, 311 might not be the starting place for that. Maybe today. But I think the committee might benefit from a larger roadmap of the things that we do as a public service. And then we hone in on the things that are operating under the integrated model of 311. And then maybe there's a few things on the edge that we will set our eyes to in the future, knowing that there's foundational work that's required. One sentence stands out to me that I'm not comfortable with, but it's here. Beyond Parks and Recreation, there are no integration opportunities being pursued at this time. I'd like that to change, but I also want to be realistic in saying that isn't like next month, that is probably an aspirational piece, but if we're not encouraging and supporting as a committee, then we will stay this way, and I don't think there's appetite to do that. Another couple of things that were brought up that I think is interesting, and Councillor Fletcher, this is a really important question that Councillor Fletcher brought up was, why are people continuing to use the phone? And I think there's some insights, but I would encourage ways to pick at this a little bit. And again, I don't know that we need a motion or a formal report back other than maybe to talk about this at another opportunity at the committee. But if we're out asking people about their experience, why did you choose this way? Did you know you could probably have done this faster? In a nice way, we would ask that question. And that's the third piece here was there was a breakdown about satisfaction. So some people were happy or not happy with their interaction with the first tier, the call taker, or the web bot. But there was also a larger dissatisfaction ratio with the actual service itself. So I have two questions about that. Like I think I heard there was interest in how that breaks down among divisions. Are some doing better than others? I don't know. And then my question, of course, is, well, what are we doing with that? And what are we doing about it? And I think that question goes beyond 311. So if I could get a nod of an undertaking that, some of those things that were talked about today, I highlighted 3, hopefully I didn't miss one. We'll come back and talk about that some more at this committee. And none of them are they're not integrated issues, so I'm not sure that there's a motion to talk about all that, but I think the committee's given you a signal that these are of interest that we should come back and spend more time on. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next report, I don't know. So with that, other than that, I'm happy to move receipt for information of the report, but knowing that there's more to the story, and I see a yes. And I'll finally ask if there's any other councillors that wanted to speak on this, and I think that's it. So, on the motion to receive, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. Our next item is SE 9.2, efforts to improve end-to-end customer experience. There are 3 speakers on this item, and I will invite those speakers to join us. Our first speaker is Ingrid Boudet from No More Noise Toronto. Welcome back, Ingrid, to the committee. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Is this better? There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Ingrid Boudet, and I'm founder of No More Noise Toronto, and we're here to speak on efforts to improve end-to-end customer experience. No More Noise Toronto, we are focused on the noises that wake us up, keep us up, and disturb us day and night, and we are now a not-for-profit. We have over 1,600 members, and so the support of thousands, I would say most of Toronto residents. We are data and process oriented, and as you can see, engaged in the civic process at City Hall. And you've gotten emails for the first time in this committee today because I've encouraged people to share about their experience trying to report noise. We are a collaborative group, and we've had great discussions with a number of different city divisions, including 311 last year. So we are a member of the External Working Group for the Unite Economy, and we're also very happy to collaborate with other like-minded organizations. So I like the analogy of the front door. I certainly had that as well. This is where most people have their interactions with the city. You are the data collector of all who visit, and you are also the first step in protecting our health when it comes to noise. So our experiences do actually not match up with those customer experience division metrics. On the phone, I hear it all the time, on hold for a long time, told couldn't report the noise, discouraged from reporting. The online form is too long and confusing, couldn't pin the noise source, the address was required. Some people want to report anonymously, and they didn't know all of the details that were required. And then if a report was completed, it sometimes was closed without an explanation, there's no follow-up, and the solution was either inadequate or there was none. So I'm going to share with you a condition that comes from noise pollution. It's called learned helplessness, and it's basically a psychological state where an individual, after repeated exposure to an uncontrollable negative situation, stops trying to change or escape it, even when opportunities exist to do so. So this is where we have a negative experience regarding noise. We're unable to sleep, we're unable to think, we're unable to concentrate, and then finally, reporting is really hard. So then that just leaves us into a perceived lack of control, and that leads to this generalized helpless behavior. And that is partly what No More Noise is doing. We are trying to give people tools to overcome that apathy, to overcome that learned helplessness. And how we started by doing this was called the Not 311 Noise Report. I created a report where people could log any noise at any time, and we had over 12,000 data points, and this was to overcome the learned helplessness and finally create community around complaining. But what this has led to is collaborative discussions with municipal licensing and standards, Carlton, Grant, Joanna, and Mitch. We've all had conversations, and we've now allowed the ability to report noise at all times, such as leaf blowers, and we're also now able to select moving vehicle noise as a drop-down. Everyone in Toronto is exposed to noise, whether you live in a quiet home, but you're still on the sidewalks, you're still on the streets. And there was a 2017 report called How Loud is Too Loud from Toronto Public Health. Most of the population is impacted by noise during the day, and a lot of them at night. And this report was in 2017. It did not examine noise spikes, and at the bottom of that screen there you can see that is from my balcony. That is the noise spikes that I live on a 24-hour basis. And that's not an average. So that creates a stress response, and the stress response is right away a physical response, it's an emotional response, and it has direct relations to our health. And what are those health outcomes? There's physical and mental health outcomes, and I understand all of those on a personal basis. And they're also linked to chronic conditions according to Toronto Public Health. So I'm going to go through these really quick. Reporting service requests for workflow for moving vehicles hasn't been fixed. Reporting amplified sound hasn't been fixed. So I think we really need to reduce the reports, first of all, through automated enforcement. So municipal licensing and standards, Carlton Grant has had a difficult job, and that whole team, the noise team, they're a great bunch of people, but noise is one of their top 5 complaints. It's 10% of their workload, and it's the most complex and challenging. So some of the things that I really hope we work towards, for example, is the technology. Let's look at area sound level monitoring. Let's have roaming bylaw officers respond to alerts, not resident complaints. So how you can improve the noise reporting process, fix what you can now with the existing legacy systems, update with new technology as soon as possible, close the loop. I love that. Yes, that's what people want. Absolutely. They want to have that loop closed and allow for all of those other things that are listed there. You've gotten emails on all of them. Consider accessibility, and let's work together. No More Noise Toronto is collaborative, and we want to help the city fix this, because if we can really fix this noise, we could have the best city in the world. But finally, the problem is getting worse. We're getting more dense, more folks are impacted. They don't know how to report noise, or have given up, and you do not have an accurate read on what noise impacts people and where. So you hold the data from where decisions are made, and good decisions can only be made from good data. So finally, let's create a better Toronto by reducing noise. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Of course.
That was a short question, and mine's short too. Can you tell us where I could get that map?
The map.
The data, the information, I'm interested. Because you're collecting it, right? Not
This one,
311?
the Not 311 noise report?
Yeah, where do I get that?
Well, I had to actually decommission that.
Okay.
But I am creating a community noise report with my University of Toronto students so that people can still do that, because they want to report something somewhere at all times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Miguel Avila Velarde. Welcome, Miguel.
Thank you.
Do you have a presentation?
Yes, I do. I'm going to hook up my laptop.
So please go ahead as soon as it's up and you're ready to go.
So I'm here to share my experience and hopefully to close the loop and provide a better end-to-end customer service. I am a resident of 220 Oak Street, the building on the screen, and for the last 15 years of my life, I have lived in peace and quiet. However, for the last 2 years, I've been experiencing extreme noises that keeps me awake. I am proud to say that I am the 9% of Toronto residents who report to 311 between the hours of 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. to complain of noises. I am glad that technology is being finally used to improve the customer service experience. What you have in front of you on the screen is called the Larson Davis Sound Advisor Model A31C. This piece of device was on testing, beta testing, alpha testing since last year before it's implemented to be used in residential units. This device closes the gap of service between the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So this little device captures voices, banging noises, any noises, music, but the importance about this device is it deals with intermittent noises that happens every 2 hours, 3 hours, because that is my personal experience living at 220 Oak Street. So here is me, 12 months later. I have become a resident of my own gym in my building. I am paying rent. I have been calling 200 calls to the CSU. I have lost hearing. My mental and physical health have been damaged further. And it's a really not a pleasant place to live. But thankfully, this electronic device has been able to be tested at 220 Oak Street. I think I'm proud to say I'm the first DCSU resident where this device has been tested. On August the 5th and August the 6th of this year, we were able to test for noises. I'm here to request that a new test is solicited because apparently the people that were creating the noises were not in their units during the time of this test was happening. So also, I would like to request that you don't have to bring with you up to four staff of TCAC to come into my unit just to drop this device. I mean, imagine that, 4 staff, 2 TCAC officers, two MLSE officers, there is no dangers. There is no reason for them to bring so many staff just to leave a little device. Imagine this microphone. I leave it in my bedroom to record noises, and the next day you come and pick it up. So I would like to request that you can do efficiencies by reducing the number of staff that you use to bring this unit into a residential unit, like what I'm experiencing the noises. The other thing I want to say is that, as Ingrid has stated, noises are the reason of many people that are going to be facing health challenges that are not going to be able to recover again. I'm showing the devices that I tested parallel to the test of the 311 service. And the data I collected from these devices, 2 microphones, where I collected, it shows a difference between their device and my device. I captured 58 decibels. 58 decibels, my friends, is dangerous, especially overnight. So for the last 12 months, I've been enduring this hardship, and I'm trying to seek solutions with my landlord to ensure that they provide me with soundproofing of my unit, because unfortunately, the housing rehoming strategy of the Housing Secretariat does not discriminate. They bring people from shelters and campings, skipping transitional housing. They're not educated as to how they will live with people that are aging in place. And that concludes my deputation.
Thank you, Miguel. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Mark Hall. And Mark is online, so we'll get Mark connected. Hello, Mark. It's Stephen Holliday at the Service Excellence Committee. Can you hear me?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark, your sound is a little bit washed out. I don't know if you can adjust your mic a bit. We'll try what we can do at our end.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better?
It's a little better. Thank you. Go ahead. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councillor and committee members, and hello to everyone. I've submitted hundreds of reports about moving vehicle noise in the past 2 years. I understand that these types of complaints are not investigated, but only used as data points. However, I am unable to find any of the reports in the data extracts. If I understand correctly about the data extracts that are available to the public, it only includes reports from about 50 of the 20 wards, and only about 30% of the reports from those wards. So in other words, only a small sample of data is available to the public. What I would like to see is all the data from all the 311 reports made in Toronto. I like to be simple for anyone to extract and sort and filter by columns such as date, area, request type, etc. I think this is a very reasonable request. It should already be available, and I hope it doesn't take years to be put into place. This is where the customer service experience meets the data, and we are a growing data-hungry culture. The 311 reports belong to all the residents. It's our data, and it should all be easily accessible to the public for the sake of information and transparency. And lastly, today is my 50th birthday, and this is my birthday wish. And I think there's a law saying you have to grant a person their birthday wish on their 50th birthday, so please make this happen. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, and happy birthday. And I will ask if there's any questions of you. I do not see any, so thank you once again for joining us. I will just ask, are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing none, questions of staff on the item? Okay, I'll go ahead. I have a couple. The first question. So my first question, Mr. Hall had put in a letter to the committee, and I had a chance to see it. And he encapsulated the same question, and that was about the availability of 311 data on noise, especially about public reports. And I wondered if staff could comment about that. Is there more data available? Is there a problem? Mr. Hall mentioned that it seems to be coming from some wards, and there was some difficulty getting the information. So is there a way that we could fix this? Or do we understand what the issue may be?
So Chair, as of last year, we started collecting this information manually, and we're working with, to implement it in open data in October this year.
Okay, so we're headed somewhere. So we can't give Mr. Hall his wish today for his birthday, but there seems to be a path to try to deal with this.
Correct.
Great. My second question is a little bit more general in nature, and that has to do with investigation requests. And the example cited today was a citizen calls in about noise, and maybe an investigation is triggered. You know, people call in for all sorts of stuff, including property standards. I wondered if someone could talk to the committee a little bit about what is available under the idea of close the loop. And if there's limitations in what's available, could we just understand a little bit about what they may be? So for instance, it's a sort of a common experience that someone that reports a problem, triggers an investigation, doesn't always get insight on what the outcome of the investigation was. And I just wanted to get a little clearer picture on that and the reasons why it is what it is.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. We are working with Customer Service Division on this Closing the Loop project, including providing more information about why, for example, something is closed. That's something we're looking to implement within the next few months. And then, further down the road, more information, for example, when a service request is in progress and just what the status is. So we are working very closely because we understand people want more information about what is happening.
So sometimes people are very interested in the end outcome. They want to know, was a charge laid in this circumstance? Is the city able to go to that extent to provide those details? And if we're not, what are those limitations? Is it system or is it something that's a little bit more policy or legal oriented?
Yeah, so it would depend. We'd have to look at the legal issues and impacts depending what stage especially if it relates to a charge or not, if it's before the courts, for example. Yeah.
Okay, and knowing that the staff mentioned that 311 is one really busy area of business that covers service requests, but it also covers case management, really, right? Is this high up on the work plan to deal with, knowing that it is labor intensive to update the system, but there's an appetite from the opposite side to gain these insights? What is the prospect on this, at least with respect to MLS?
So if I understand the question, what is the priority in terms of closing the loop project? And it's quite high on our list. We understand the desire. This is something we hear quite often. People want more information. So we are working quite closely with the Customer Experience Division on this project.
Okay, great. I'll just check to see if there was any other questions of staff on this item. members wishing to speak? Councillor Fletcher to speak.
I just have a motion, and I just want to thank the staff for assisting me with this. And recommendations from our Service Excellence Committee go to the Executive Committee. And I know I've shared this with you, Chair, and I think I've shared it with the other councillors on the committee. So if we can see that, it's coming back in 2026 with simplifying the intake process, starting with parks, streamlining the public-facing service categories, consolidating service codes, just so when we're closing the loop, we don't get strangled by the vine or by the rope while we're closing it, so that it's as simple as possible, as clear as possible for people, and that we're really thinking from somebody who doesn't work for the city, and we have very complex things, and we're used to a lot of information. They just want to know, simple, was the drinking fountain fixed? Was this fixed? Was that fixed? Again, going to those top three. We don't know what the top three are going to be in parks yet, because we're just bringing that on. But we do know what the top three are for other divisions, and then I think the No More Noise Toronto, I can't remember your branded name now, but I think I'm close enough. Just some of those where we're looking at being able to say, well, the complexity of those or the urgency of those compared to something that's not urgent. So in my questioning earlier, it was, when do we know something's urgent? When is it critical? When is it, that's okay, we're going to get to that in a certain point of time? Is the tree branch falling off, or is it just touching the wires? How do we know that that's been fixed as a critical issue, as just a standard 2 weeks, 3 weeks issue, or a 24-hour issue? I think we just could use a little more depth on that, Mr. Chair. So that's the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Any other comments? No. On Councillor Fletcher's amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. As that was an item for receipt, I think that is one, Mr. Clerk. We don't need to do as a...
No longer, we're moving it somewhere.
Right. Any other items of business, Mr. Clerk? There
So
are
can we
none.
just be clear, it's not to receive anymore, we're giving it an action.
That amendment has given it an action, and it will proceed to the Executive Committee.
Thank you so much.
So there being no other orders of business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.